Hello, fellow scholars. Will David here. The Mashpee Wampanoag inhabited present-day Massachusetts and eastern Rhode Island for more than 12,000 years. Here in New England, it's been rather sunny, so it seems appropriate to discuss my paper on the Mashpee Wampanoag and their interaction with the light of the gospel. My thesis, based on primary source research and secondary sources, is the Mashpee Wampanoag people's intersection with the English colonizers' evangelical efforts carried both positive and negative experiences, but produced a uniquely indigenous Christianity in Mashpee. Let's go for the breakdown. First, conversion and praying towns, laying the groundwork for a blended identity. Mashpee was established as a praying Indian town in the 1660s. Missionaries like Richard Bourne and John Eliot were instrumental in forming these towns. On one hand, this presented some positive aspects. Christianization meant indigenous people gained rights and got deeds to their land and protection for their land rights. Mashpee became the largest Wampanoag settlement in the praying town system. There were some negative sides. Colonial pressure prompted European customs like clothing and agriculture and carried the risk of losing traditional authority structures. John Eliot's missions, for example, banned aspects of native culture and marginalized traditional leaders. Despite these pressures, the Mashpee Wampanoag maintained elements of natural native life, such as communal hunting and gathering and oral traditions. They blended Christianity into a hybrid faith, Christian in theology, yet profoundly Wampanoag in worldview and sensibilities. Institutionally, Mashpee was an early example of dual government, managed both English-style church laws and tribal customs, where Wampanoag church leaders often held civic positions, demonstrating the transition from traditional leadership structures to roles like deacons and constables. Second, the complexities of conversion. Conversion for the Mashpees was pragmatic, selective, and adaptive. There was elements of coercion, but we do see aspects of Wampanoag agency. For example, Wampanoags returned from some of the Boston praying Indian towns to the Cape Cod towns, seeking refuge and greater autonomy that was available in the Cape Cod Christianity and the Mashpee Wampanoag Christianity. The Mashpee engaged in significant cultural exchange and resistance. They blended Christianity and indigenous spiritual beliefs. That resistance often took the form of preserving their language and of rituals outside the formal church context. The old Indian meeting house, built originally in 1684, rebuilt in 1758, still standing today, stands as a powerful symbol of the relationship of the worship and Mashpee autonomy. For 159 years leading up to the Mashpee Revolt, it was the spiritual and civic center for the community. Third, the church was a source of identity and autonomy and a tool for survival and rebellion. Crucially, what started as a colonial imposition, the church became a tool for cultural survival and even rebellion. The meeting house became the central institution and where the Mashpee Revolt of 1833 took place. William Apes, a Methodist minister there of Pequot descent, adopted into Wampanoag society, led the result. He used powerful Christian rhetoric to lead this nonviolent uprising. His work, Indian Nullification, present the Mashpee's argument as a peaceful and legal struggle under the Constitution for their indigenous rights. It directly countered the colonial narrative that this was an Indian riot. We see, finally, that the Mashpee Wampanoag's intersection with Christianity had positive and negative aspects, but in the end created a uniquely indigenous blended Christianity in Mashpee.